Chapter 1. The Self. You awaken in a dimly lit cave, disoriented and confused. You can't seem to remember how you got here or where you are. As you try to piece together the fragments of your memory, a shadowy figure suddenly appears before you. Its form is indiscernible, but its presence is menacing, and you feel a sense of impending danger. The shadowy figure begins to move towards you, and you instinctively turn and run. With your heart racing, you frantically search for an exit, but the figure relentlessly chases you. Its presence fills you with a sense of dread and terror, and you can feel your body weakening with each step. As you run, you begin to feel a sense of exhaustion and despair. Will you ever escape this shadowy figure that seems to be pursuing you with an unyielding determination? There must be a way to overcome your fears and face this dark entity, but you have no idea how. Out of the corner of your eye, you see light. An exit. At the end of the cave, you see you are on the side of a massive mountain. On the cliff wall is a small trail, wrapping all the way down. It seems treacherous, but you have no other choice. Without any further hesitation, you run down the unknown road. After nearly an hour of running, you stop abruptly, trying to catch your breath as you look up to see a young man with a sly grin on his face. He is dressed in brightly colored clothing, with a pack slung over his shoulder. You seem to be in a bit of a hurry, he says, his voice tinged with amusement. And the fool, he says, extending his hand to shake yours. What's chasing you? He asks. As you catch your breath, you explain your situation to the fool. He listens carefully, nodding his head thoughtfully. The fool sits down next to you and begins to tell his story. He used to be a jester in a small town, entertaining the locals with his jokes and antics. But he always felt like there was something more out there, something he was meant to explore. Many people in the town told him that he wouldn't last a day out there in the unknown, but he decided to take a leap of faith and set out on his journey of self-discovery. At first, it was scary and uncertain. He stumbled and fell many times, but he kept pushing forward. He found himself in strange and unfamiliar lands, facing challenges and obstacles he never thought possible. But with each hurdle, he learned and grew stronger, developing a keen sense of intuition and a deep trust in himself. The fool explains that he learned to embrace the unknown and to trust his instincts, taking leaps of faith even when the outcome was uncertain. He learned to be adaptable and creative, finding new ways to solve problems and overcome obstacles. And most importantly, he learned to be true to himself, following his own path even when others doubted him. As he finishes his story, the fool turns to you with a knowing smile. Taking a leap of faith can be scary. It's also necessary for growth and self-discovery. He says, you have to be willing to step outside your comfort zone. There comes a time when you have to face the unknown. Trust in yourself and your abilities. That's where true growth and transformation lie. Around the bend comes a menacing grumble. The shadows found me, you exclaim. The fool looks around frantically, then smiles. I think I have just the thing for you, he says, looking at a steep river just below the cliff you're standing on. The river is 30 feet down, but seems to be plenty deep. Its waters rush down the steep slope of the mountain, going in and out of caves and through thick brush. Now this is what I call a leap of faith, he exclaims, grinning from ear to ear. This river is the perfect way to conquer your fears and overcome your shadow self. You just need to trust yourself and take the leap. You hesitate for a moment, feeling a flutter of fear in your chest as you stare down at the dark rushing water below. But the fool encourages you, telling you to trust your instincts and take the plunge. Look for the magician, he says. He'll know how to ward off any spirits that might try to harm you. But remember, the leap itself is the key. Trust yourself, and you'll make it through just fine. With a deep breath, you take the leap, hurtling down the river's twisting, turning path. The water is cold and dark, and you feel a sense of terror and exhilaration as you speed towards an unknown destination. Finally, the river spits you out in a dark forest, and you stumble onto the shore, gasping for breath. But as you look around, you realize that you feel different somehow. The fear and uncertainty that had been weighing you down before seem to have dissipated, and you feel a newfound sense of clarity and purpose. You know that you still have a long way to go. As you wander, you come across a clearing in which stands the magician, surrounded by mystical symbols and tools. The magician greets you with a warm smile, sensing your newfound sense of purpose. I see you've taken the leap, the magician says. You're braver than you know, but the journey doesn't end here. You still have much to discover about yourself. How did you know I took a leap of faith? You ask. If you didn't, you wouldn't be here. He replies. The magician invites you to sit with him at a table covered in a cloth adorned with symbols of the 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water. On the table, you see a wand, a cup, a pentacle, and a sword. These are the tools of my trade, the magician says. Each represents a different aspect of your being and the elements of the universe. The wand symbolizes your inner fire and creativity, the cup represents your emotions and intuition, the pentacle represents the earth and your physical self, and the sword represents your intellect and power of discernment. He picks up the wand and points it towards the sky, saying, with this wand, you can channel the energy of the universe and direct it towards your goals. He then picks up the cup and fills it with water. The cup reminds you to stay in touch with your emotion and intuition, to trust your gut and stay true to your heart. He says as he puts his hand to your chest. The magician then picks up the pentacle and holds it in his hand. The pentacle reminds you of your connection to the earth and your physical self. It reminds you to take care of your body and to stay grounded in the present moment. Finally, he picks up the sword and brandishes it in the air. The sword represents your intellect and power of discernment. It reminds you to be analytical and strategic in your approach to life. As you embark on your journey of self-discovery, the magician says, remember to harness the power of these tools within yourself. They are always within your reach, and with practice, you can learn to use them to achieve your goals and overcome your inner demons. Speaking of demons, he says, motioning to the trees. The trees rustle in the far-off distance. Something is coming your way. You can't see the entity, but you can feel it in your bones. It's the shadow. The magician explains, I noticed it off in the distance as we spoke. I put a confusion spell on it to hold it off, so I could help you. I imagine it's worn off by now. You better go find the High Priestess. She can help you further. Now run along before it catches up with you. Realizing the urgency of the situation, you nod and start to run through the forest, determined to find the High Priestess before it's too late. You can hear the shadow self's cackling laughter behind you as you run, but you keep going, driven by the need to continue your journey of self-discovery and find the answers you seek. As you run, you start to wonder what secrets the High Priestess holds and what new insights you will gain on your journey. You know that the road ahead will be challenging, but you feel more prepared now that you have the guidance of the magician and the knowledge that you possess the power to face your fears and overcome your inner demons. As you wander, a light catches your attention and you notice there is a clearing. There is a platform with 2 pillars, one white, one black. In the middle is a woman sitting on a throne. She wears long robes and a crown with what seems to be 3 moons. Behind her is a veil. You can feel an aura of mystery and wisdom emanating from her. She greets you with a knowing smile, as if she has been expecting you. You feel a sense of comfort and reassurance in her presence. This must be the High Priestess. I've been waiting for you, says the High Priestess. Sit down, we don't have too much time before the shadow jumps out, she says with an intuitive grin. She begins to explain to you the symbolism behind her appearance. The full and crescent moons on her crown represents the cyclical nature of life, the ebb and flow of energy and the passage of time. The white and black pillars next to her symbolize the duality of existence, the balance of light and dark, and the need for harmony and equilibrium. The pomegranate veil behind her is a reminder of the hidden wisdom that exists within all of us, waiting to be discovered. She teaches you to tap into your intuition and inner knowledge, to trust your instincts and delve into the mysteries of the universe. She encourages you to embrace your feminine power and find balance between your rational and emotional selves. To further explain this lesson, the High Priestess shares with you a parable about a young woman who was lost in the woods. The young woman was afraid and didn't know which way to go. She saw a stream and thought, if I follow this stream, it must lead me to the river, and from there, I can find my way back home. So she followed the stream, which turned and twisted through the forest. It was hard going, and the young woman stumbled and fell several times, but she persisted. After a while, she came to a fork in the stream. One path led off to the left, while the other went to the right. The young woman was uncertain which path to take, and she felt her fear rising again. But then she remembered something her mother had told her, if you ever get lost, just listen to your heart. It will always guide you in the right direction. So she closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and listened to the stillness inside of her. As she tapped into herself, her surroundings got quieter. In her mind's eye, she saw herself lifting up. Her thoughts were like a clamoring stream of statements, questions, and requests. Suddenly, she came back to reality with the birds chirping and the crisp air. Something inside her was saying to go right. With a deep breath, she turned right and followed the stream. After some time, she heard the sound of rushing water. She was getting closer. When she emerged from the forest, she saw the river flowing before her. As the High Priestess finishes her story, you feel a sense of understanding and clarity. You know that you have much to learn, but with the guidance of the Fool, the Magician, and the High Priestess, you feel more prepared than ever to face the challenges that lie ahead. As the High Priestess speaks, you notice a glass ball sitting nearby, seemingly innocuous at first. But as you approach it, you see the shadow self hiding inside, waiting to strike. Before you can react, the shadow self jumps out at you, knocking you back and filling you with terror. As the shadow self passes through you, you feel as though you are about to be taken over by its malevolent presence. But the High Priestess remains calm and collected, stepping forward and chanting a powerful incantation that throws the shadow self back into the glass ball, causing it to vanish. You can't hide from it forever, the High Priestess warns you, but with time and practice, you will learn to face it with courage and strength. Come with me, the High Priestess says. She guides you down a winding path through the forest, towards a hidden cave. Inside the cave, you see a pool of dark water, shimmering with an otherworldly light. The High Priestess tells you that the pool holds the secrets of the universe and that if you look deeply into its waters, you will find the answers you seek. Feeling a sense of anticipation and awe, you gaze into the pool, watching as images and symbols swirl and dance before your eyes. You see visions of your past, present, and future, and you start to understand the interconnectedness of all things. You feel a sense of wonder and awe at the vastness of the universe and your place within it. When you look back up, the High Priestess is gone and you are alone in the cave. Suddenly, you hear the screeching of the shadow. It's coming from a long, dark cavern in the cave. You feel your intuition kick in, just as the High Priestess mentioned. It tells you to find the shadow and face it. Remembering the fool's advice, you take a leap of faith and head down the dark cavern. The cave gets darker and darker until you can barely see. As you walk, the magician's words come to mind. His advice was to be creative and trust in yourself. You shout out, "Shadow, show yourself." The hair on the back of your neck tingles as you feel a warm breath roll down your back. Your intuition rings out once again, "Let it in." Taking a leap of faith, you whisper, "I reunite you with me." Your voice has changed. It sounds powerful, magical, and melodic. You feel your cold, slimy shadow enter you, and a blinding light comes zooming forward. A giant white screen comes to a stop right in front of you. Its white noise is loud and distracting in your ear, then a cut in the audio. It's quiet. The screen shows you in your bedroom when you were 3. This must be the screen or veil of life. Am I in a dream? You think. The screen keeps changing channels to those times you were ashamed, all the times you were fearful, and every time you betrayed yourself. As each memory passes, you accept them as part of a greater purpose. The memories are heavy, and you feel as if you might pass out. Reality fades, and you lose consciousness. When you wake, you are laying on the ground in a brilliant white room. The walls are some sort of pure white marble material. As you turn around, you see the fool, the magician, and the High Priestess standing above you. "What happened?" you ask. "You passed the simulation," says the magician. "What simulation?" you say with bewilderment. "The self," the fool replies. The High Priestess walks up and grabs you by the hand. "Are you ready for the next?" she says with a gleam in her eye.